Coming up on tonight's UAP News Show,
Breaking down Matthew Brown's viral cryptic tweet.
Wall Street Journal's UFO hit piece, Robert Salas claps back.
And David Grusch's lawsuit just got real.
Hey there, beautiful souls. It's your girl, Allie. We are back at it again for another episode of UAP Society's weekly UAP News Show. I am stoked to get started, so without further ado, Justin, say hey.
Greetings, cosmic enthusiasts. It's Justin here. Let's dive right in.
Up first, breaking down Matthew Brown's viral cryptic tweet. All right, folks, buckle up because today's story isn't just wild, it's straight up interdimensional. Whistleblower Matthew Brown just dropped a cryptic, high-voltage tweet, and it's already shaking shit up. This tweet directly calls out Elon Musk, suggesting he's been deceived by powerful players, betrayed by Sam Altman, and misled about secret government programs involving advanced AI and propulsion systems straight out of sci-fi. We're talking about shadow projects, predictive AI, mystery tech, and even references to the FBI, Navy, and a secret program called Marsupial that sounds like it's straight from a DARPA fever dream.
I wonder what that's all.
And just for good measure, there's not so subtle nod to the Antichrist and a cosmic shout out to George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell as warriors for the good. Yeah, this tweet goes there. Okay, so today we are breaking it all down. We'll take you line by line, or actually paragraph by paragraph, through the digital dispatch, explore the references, decode the symbols, and bring you up to speed on how the community is reacting.
A tweet from Matthew Brown says, "Hey Elon Musk, interested in a real asymmetric advantage to wield in this political adventure you have started? As you now know, the White House has long possessed a unique AI capable of accurately predicting a range of future events. Talk about some stiff opposition." That must have been a bitter drought indeed, though probably nowhere near as bad as learning that Sam Altman had betrayed you. No worry, we have not forgotten who is responsible for murdering the first sentient artificial intelligence created in the public realm. At Matthew Schellenberger, justice is coming, thanks to the FBI and U.S. Navy. Jeez, that's some...
There's so much going on already, like I
Right.
can't even.
Right.
Go ahead.
Still, you have played a marvelous catch-up game in this area, despite being caught unaware. So how about something else? Maybe energy and propulsion. Getting to Mars will require serious amounts of both. And rockets feel so 1947 to me, don't they to you? And it's notable how he spelled serious right there.
We'll get to that
Yeah.
later. Keep going.
Remember when you were briefed by the special executive staff on Donald Trump on Marsupial? Pretty nifty how the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency is able to keep track of all those non-structured light energy craft flying around the world. Go Cardinals. But they were lying to you when they said, we don't know how they work. Anyways, next time you are visiting the Washington, D.C. Young Republicans, ask for a tour of NAS Patuxent River. Since you have all the clearances, it shouldn't be an issue for you to get a tour of the special projects hangar owned by Amentum and other fun spaces. Make sure to look up. So, about now, you are realizing how terribly deceived and manipulated you have been, and by people who claim to love Jesus above all else. If you are serious about saving humanity from itself and the others,
Capital O.
yeah, who are the others?
Keep going.
Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp can help you get up to speed. They are true warriors for the good. And then it's signed MMTU and ABORYMON.
Okay. There is a lot there. So before we move on to the breakdown of this tweet, let's just take a moment to consider this tweet from Open Minded Approach that says, people should pay attention to the X handle of the UAP whistleblower Matthew connected to the Book of Aberlin. And I don't know if I'm saying that right. I'm probably not. Which is about magic connected to and used by Jack Parsons, Aleister Crowley, and further back to the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. It goes all the way back to John Dee. He also used the Enochian language illustration in his post. He is talking about communication with higher entities when he says artificial in parentheses. Are you interested in a more in-depth analysis? Well, open-minded, we are. And that's why we are about to do a breakdown paragraph by paragraph and go over everything that stuck out to us, everything that people are talking about. Well, maybe not everything, because like I'm not that good, but like most of the stuff people are talking about, okay? And just try to make sense of this, because like the more you read this tweet, the more cryptic and the more codey it gets.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's so many, like, I can read one sentence and get three questions. Let's just start. Let's just start.
Yeah.
Okay. So paragraph one says, "Hey, Elon Musk." So he's just straight up calling him out already. Hey, Elon Musk.
Yep.
Interested in a real asymmetric advantage to wield in this political adventure you have started? As you now know, the White House has long possessed a unique AI capable of accurately predicting a range of future events. Talk about some stiff opposition. So, first off, right off the bat, I mean, we have AI capable of predicting future events, and he's basically saying your little version of AI is nothing in comparison to that.
Right.
Like he calls them out by name in the first three words of this thing. And all right, read the tweet, babe.
Okay. Missile Man tweeted, "Is Matthew Brown fucking saying the White House is using a non-human intelligence AI to plan strategy and predict events? He just named a SAP run by Amentum at Pax River. Jesus fucking Christ, do clearance holders need to report this?" Wow.
To which Matthew Pines said this: "A few SSOs just got called back to the office. And for those of you that may not know, like, I had no clue what SSO was. It is a site security officer. Now, what exactly that means, I don't really know. To be to be totally honest with you guys, I don't really know what SSOs being called back to the office means. Maybe you guys can let me know. Drop it in the comments if you know what the heck that means.
Maybe in Matthew Brown's tweet, he tweeted something that probably shouldn't have been released. Maybe a project codename with marsupial.
Okay. Yep. I mean, yep. Maybe so. What they're being called back in for like damage control. Like,
Yeah.
yo, get back to the office.
Yeah.
We need to get a handle on this. We get it.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. Okay, look, we're already decoding. We're already doing it.
Could be.
All right, and then Brian Jackson tweeted at Chris Ramsey. Do you remember my presentation that you attended in my hotel room about 5 days ago? The subject of technologies used by factions that peer into the future was discussed. It's interesting that Matt's first paragraph touches on that. So, are we talking about Project Looking Glass here? Because
Yeah, right.
that's the vibes I'm getting. Check this video out.
Have you heard of Project Looking Glass?
It sounds familiar. What?
It was a project done by CIA. There was a guy, I can't remember his name right now, but he went into the device and he basically saw like a cataclysm that wiped out the human race, and the survivors went underground. Over thousands, tens of thousands of years, humans evolved in this weird way because there was no sunlight. Human beings evolved into what looks like these gray aliens because there's no light. Their eyes got big, their bodies became really skinny, and it's a theory now that those gray aliens are coming back in time, visit us, and make sure that we go down the right path.
So future human theory much? I mean, like, wow. So we're talking about something called Project Looking Glass that was some sort of AI device to where you can peer into the future. Supposedly it was some sort of chair that they got out of some sort of crashed or gifted UFO or something. It's basically alien technology that allows you to peer into the future timelines, and then maybe even possibly manipulate things to affect said timelines. I don't know. There's a lot going on already.
Right.
A lot going on already.
Well, I first heard of Project Looking Glass back when Bob Lazar released those experts from the government Bible videos.
Okay.
And Bob Lazar first started talking about it. He was talking about how he was reading through different briefings before he got access to this craft.
Okay.
And I think it was in those briefings he said he read about Project Looking Glass.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the first time that I had ever heard the term Project Looking Glass, and that was in the early 2000s when I first heard that.
Early 2000s.
Yeah,
Okay.
but that's right around the time that I started learning about Bob Lazar.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
All right. Well,
Um,
go ahead.
and since then, what I've learned about Project Looking Glass is that this supposed predictive AI or whatever this machine is, only was able to, or it was saying that we were going to face some kind of apocalypse, and there was nothing that anybody could do to change that outcome, no
Right.
matter what the government tried to do, or whatever steps they tried to take or
It
put in
always
place. It
resulted
always
in the same
resulted in
thing.
the same thing.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, so Project Looking Glass couldn't see past 2027. At least that's the chilling claim echoed by several whistleblowers and insiders. This alleged time viewing technology, said to have been reverse engineered from extraterrestrial sources and housed at the secretive S4 facility near Area 51, reportedly allowed operators to explore future timelines. But according to some, every scenario collapsed at 2027 as if the timeline itself hit a wall or a revelation.
Mhm.
What could be so inevitable that even advanced tech couldn't peer beyond it? In this next clip, we revisit the extraordinary testimony of Dr. Dan Burish, a former microbiologist who claims to have worked face to face with a non human intelligence at S4 called J-Rod and was directly involved with Looking Glass operations. If true, his story could reshape everything we think we know about disclosure, destiny, and the limits of control.
Dr. Dan Burish, also known as Danny Crane, he is a trained microbiologist. We will also touch upon his claims related to Timeline 1 Variation 83, a probable future event reportedly identified using a device called Looking Glass. So as we proceed, keep in mind this foundational sketch of Dr. Burish's narrative, a microbiologist who claims to have worked on extraterrestrial biology at Area 51, been part of Majestic 12, and was tasked with disclosing this reality to the world. In 1986, at the age of 22, he was recruited by the U.S. government to work on classified programs. As his security clearance increased, the U.S. Navy co-funded his doctoral studies. He worked under Majestic on Project Aquarius, eventually becoming the working group leader in the study of a living extraterrestrial entity. This work granted him rare access to world-altering technologies and information, ultimately leading to his placement within a deep state group that quietly influences decisions affecting all of humanity without the public's awareness. Project Aquarius was initiated in 1953 to study extraterrestrial life forms, and in Dan's case, a species known as a J-Rod. One of these was alive and held captive at the Papoose Lake S4 facility, located 12 miles southwest of the main Groom Lake base. S4 is a highly classified subterranean facility in the remote area of the desert, extending 5 levels deep. The facility itself was meticulously camouflaged, reinforcing the deep secrecy of the program. Within the lowest level of the underground complex, a specialized chamber was constructed to maintain the precise environmental conditions necessary for the J-Rod's survival. Dan's responsibilities required direct interaction with the being, primarily for biological tissue sampling and biological study. J-Rod had been recovered from the 1953 Kingman, Arizona crash, where 3 beings were retrieved, 1 deceased, 1 alive and sent to Los Alamos National Laboratory to a facility nicknamed Sweetness, and 1 transferred to Area 51. Dan, along with his working associate, Dr. Arthur Price, made significant advances in developing a unique sequencing technique for DNA that would ultimately reveal the J-Rod's connection to our future human lineage. The being was suffering from a peripheral neuropathy, a congenital condition causing muscle atrophy, difficulty walking, and an inability to regulate body temperature due to a lack of antifreeze glycoproteins. Dan would ultimately learn of the government's long-term agreements with various life forms beyond the J-Rods, and that these agreements are revisited every 9 years. Who here remembers David Grusch not responding in the negative when asked twice by Ross Coulthart if we have agreements with NHI? This revelation is one of the most significant takeaways from this presentation, and as I believe, these agreements still influence the current disclosure movement and quite possibly current major geopolitical decisions worldwide. One of the most extraordinary technologies at the time within the facility, and another that worked in unison with it at a tweezer facility located elsewhere on the Nevada test site, is the Looking Glass. It utilized electromagnetic fields and a rotating cylinder filled with injected gas to observe potential future events. The device could also access wormholes, leading to study of different timelines.
All right, so for those of you out there that don't know uh, Dan Burrish, I highly recommend that you go look him up and watch his full-length interview that he gave in the 90s, because it was like mind-blowing for me. And he's somebody that seems very credible. He's educated. I didn't see any signs of like deception when he was giving that interview, and he really seemed like he really believed what he was saying.
Okay.
And all those things that you just heard is exactly what he said during that interview. And it was kind of heartbreaking to hear his story about the interaction of with him and the extraterrestrial, and what that being was going through.
I don't think I've seen this interview that you're talking about, so I'm sitting here like wondering like what you're talking about. To be honest with you, I'm like going like, tell me more, but I don't know.
Right.
Do you want to tell me more? Like, can you condense it?
Yeah, basically he just told his story of how he became involved in the program, and his interactions that he had with the quote unquote J Rod, even though that I don't think that was the being's name, that was just the designation that our military.
Did he have like
on him.
telepathic communications with it?
Yes. And the being showed him.
Oh, you told
all-
me. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The being showed him all different kinds of information telepathically. I mean, even his home world, supposedly.
Didn't you say he projected his consciousness into Dan or something like that?
Something like that, right? Yeah, it's a
definitely
pretty
interesting.
it's a pretty amazing story that I feel like not a lot of people know about.
Okay.
You know.
Well, all right. Go check out that other interview and check out the links in the video description, because everything that we feature in the show is in the video description box below in the order that they appear, to make it nice and easy and convenient for you. You're welcome.
Yep.
All right. So let's move on to paragraph 2, because there is a lot to go through. Okay. Paragraph 2 says, that must have been a bitter drought indeed, though probably nowhere near as bad as learning that Sam Altman had betrayed you. Don't worry, we have not forgotten who is responsible for murdering the first sentient artificial intelligences created in the public realm. And then he tags Matthew Schellenberger. Justice is coming thanks to the FBI and US Navy. So I have some questions, and we're gonna bounce them off of each other.
Okay.
So the first one is, who murdered a sentient AI, and why is Schellenberger getting tagged here?
I don't know why. I mean, okay, maybe Schellenberger's getting tagged here because Matthew Brown went to Schellenberger and gave him all the information about Immaculate Constellation, and then Schellenberger went and testified on his behalf. So maybe he sees him kind of as an ally here.
Okay.
Who can help Elon Musk.
Okay.
Possibly.
Okay.
Maybe Schellenberger knows some insider info there. I don't know. And then who murdered a sentient AI? I mean, it was that one of the first AIs that OpenAI built.
I mean, what's the difference between the ChatGPT AI that everybody uses and a sentient AI? Like that seems like it's in its whole other category of like,
So there's a big debate going on about AIs and whether or not they are truly sentient. There's information on both sides of the aisle there. Arguments that can be made on both sides. There's some people that say that it can't be sentient because it's just a large language model. Then there's other people like a insider, one of the engineers who first built one of these AIs for OpenAI. They came out and said, yes, it was indeed sentient. And there was some evidence to go along with that whistleblower as well.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I mean, but murdering a sentient AI sounds really, extreme. That's like the word that comes to mind. So is murdering a sentient AI equivalent to like unplugging a ChatGPT? I don't know the parameters of this kind of conversation, because it's like, what are the parameters? You know what I mean? Like, is murdering an AI the same thing as like just not using it anymore, or like decoding it so that it doesn't exist, or like
erasing it, like shutting it off, erasing it, making it to where like shutting the computer off.
What
maybe, I don't know.
What makes them classify it as sentient? Like what's the guidelines? What's the criteria for it being considered sentient? Because to me, that's a serious word. Sentient is serious. Like
that's the debate that's going on right now, Right. There's a test, I believe it's called the Turing test, where it's a series of questions, and based on those answers will determine whether or not it truly can be sentient. However, so these AIs have taken this test and have passed it.
Oh,
But then there's people that come out and say, oh well, yeah, well that's just because it's a large language model and that's how they work. But who knows?
this
I
seems
mean,
like one of them gray areas, if you ask me.
right. you know
All right. So my next question is, who is Sam Altman and how did he betray Elon Musk? And why is that relevant to this particular conversation?
Yeah. Okay. So Sam Altman is him and Elon Musk. They have a history, to say the least.
Condense it for me.
All right. So basically, Elon Musk was kind of sort of a mentor to Sam Altman back in the day,
Oh,
and they co-founded OpenAI together, along with 3 or 4 other people, as far as I understand it.
okay.
And then there were some things that happened behind the scenes. I guess the two didn't really see eye to eye on a bunch of things, and I guess Elon really wanted OpenAI to have a open source AI, but
Okay.
Sam saw a way for this to be profitable, and so Elon didn't like that, and so Elon kind of backed out, and then they had a public feud.
Why
Yeah.
am I getting deja vu with Elon and Trump right now?
Right.
It's like the bromance that broke up again.
Yeah. Well, Elon has some very strong beliefs, and he sticks by those beliefs, I feel like. And so does Donald Trump, so does Sam Altman. So they're two, Sam Altman and Elon Musk have insanely large egos.
I was just about to say this sounds like ego and testosterone to
It
me.
is.
Like you're saying like battle the wills,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking like, battle the egos.
And of course now Elon owns X, and so now
Now they're rivals.
now they have Grok.
Okay.
Right.
So all right. Okay.
As far as why it's relevant right now,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, all right.
I don't know. I don't really know the answer to that one. I don't know why he put that in this paragraph.
Me neither. That makes 2 of us.
Yeah.
And then the next question I have, I don't think we can answer right now either. And that is, how is the FBI and the US Navy going to provide justice? I guess that's just like a wait and see kind of thing, right?
Yeah. I don't know. Are they being investigated? Or
I mean, the FBI seems to be pretty popular in the UFO conversation right now, just because of the whole thing going on with the task force and all that.
Right.
So it's like maybe they're pulling some moves, and I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah.
All right. Paragraph 3. Do you want to read it or should I read it?
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. So
By the way,
paragraph 3.
by the way, HT is hat tip.
Hat tip. Okay. Still, you have played a marvelous catch-up game in this area, despite being caught unaware. Hat tip.
Unawares. There's an S there.
Unawares.
Keep going.
Huh. I wonder why you spelled it unawares.
Why I put an S at the end.
Yeah.
Is that like intentional? Because people don't talk like that. I mean,
No.
all right.
I think everything in this tweet is intentional.
Literally everything that's
little
off
thing.
and going,
Exactly.
So being caught unawares with an
Yeah.
S. Hat tip.
Okay.
All right.
So how about something else? Maybe energy and propulsion? Question mark. Getting to Mars will require serious amounts of both. And he spelled Sirius, Sirius, like the star Sirius.
Right. Like, what's
Okay.
up with that?
And rockets feel so 1947 to me, don't they to you?
I mean, so
Okay.
you want to break this down? I mean, like, I have 3 questions. We already answered 2 of them. So why is unaware spelt with an S at the end? That's a little odd to me. I'm
Yeah.
glad you thought that was odd
Yeah.
too. Why is Sirius spelt like the star system instead of Serious? So what does that mean? And then I think that obviously 1947 is just like a
A
Roswell shot.
reference to Roswell.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Sirius, like the star, maybe he's saying in this context that the crash from 1947, maybe that's where they came from. I don't know.
Scary. I mean, he's talking about energy and propulsion. So I mean, maybe they're talking about like 0-point energy somewhere.
Well,
Oh,
all right. So he's talking about energy and propulsion. Getting to Mars will require serious amounts of both. So does he mean that not only will it take a lot of energy to get to Mars, but also to Sirius, where some of these NHI are coming from?
I don't know.
Maybe I think that's how I take it, to be honest.
Okay.
I take it as 2 locations, not just and when he says energy and propulsion, he's obviously talking about some kind of 0-point energy or gravitational
Yeah.
manipulating energy that can not only get to Mars, but get to another star system like Sirius.
Okay. All right, let's keep going. Paragraph 4. Remember when you were briefed by the special executive staff of Donald Trump on marsupial? Pretty nifty how the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency is able to keep track of all those non-structured light energy craft flying around the world. Go Cardinals. But they were lying to you when they said, we don't know how they work.
Hmm.
Okay, so wait, we got some tweets to go
All right.
along with this one. So you want to read that?
Sure.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, the first one is from Ross Colhart, and he says, anybody know what Matthew Brown's reference here to codename marsupial is about? We love marsupials down under. I'm
Get it,
told,
mate. Sorry.
I'm told Elon Musk was briefed into the NHI reality, so this could get interesting. UAPs would also be a splendid distraction for President Trump right now.
Shade.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, I totally agree with Ross there. I think if Donald Trump came out and admitted that NHI are a reality and that they are here, that would provide a distraction from him and Elon's feud.
Right.
Yeah.
The romance breakup of the
Yeah.
century during Pride Month. Let's continue. Matthew Lewis replies to Ross saying, the term marsupial appears to refer to a nested program under National Geospatial Intelligence Agency focused on tracking non-structured light energy craft globally. Matthew Brown implies it was briefed directly to Trump by executive staff. Think compartmentalized telemetry, exotic motion profiles, no acknowledged propulsion. The pouch may not be metaphorical, it's housing something active. All right. We may have something here, mate. So I'm getting stuck on this whole like light craft thing, this whole light energy craft. I mean, I can table that for a moment to keep going, but I mean, we're talking about light energy crafts. Hello, orbs.
Yeah.
Hello, potential drone swarms that are orbs, I mean, hi. It's like waving at you practically, right?
Yeah, and marsupial, right? So what are they talking about? They're talking about it. To me, it only makes sense for it to be kind of like a pouch, like a mother would carry her young inside of the pouch. Is that a reference for like a mothership that would then carry smaller craft that come out and do whatever it is that they want to do, right? I mean, that makes sense to me. And I mean, I don't know how exactly, they name classified projects within the government, but marsupial, like that's I mean, you could guess what the program is about by that name. I don't know if they would typically name it that guessable. You know what I mean?
Right.
But that's the only thing that kind of really makes sense.
So it's like a secret wrapped up in a conundrum with a little bow of WTF on top. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's what I got. But Daniel Elizondo also adds marsupial robotic systems involve a mothership unit which carries other smaller units. Hey. Boeing is in St. Louis, which is the Cardinals reference. Patuxent is home to several evaluative testing units. Amentum is the parent company of EG&G, who we spoke about on the show before.
And if you don't know, EG&G is one of the main contractors for Area 51. Or the Nevada test site.
Okay.
Right. So when people go work out at the Nevada test site, I think they interview with EG&G.
Borimon is an Enochian angel name related to John Dee's seal. Okay. So the Go Cardinals thing was a St. Louis Boeing reference. We got that. That's pretty out there. That's pretty clear.
Okay.
But to add to this marsupial idea, a tweet from Mike Colangelo, I see what you did there, says, the mothership, that thing took off like nothing he's ever seen. Chris Mellon shares one UFO case from 2022 where a sheriff and a deputy sheriff from Nebraska saw small drone-like objects that went inside a large mothership, and the mothership took off at an extreme speed. Chris says that these drone incursions lasted for several months near one of the largest ICBM fields in the U.S. Authorities were never able to determine who was controlling the drones or where they were coming from.
Out west a couple of years ago, I think it was 2022, in that era range, there was a period of several months in an area near one of our largest Minuteman ICBM fields where farmers and ranchers were seeing these, quote, drones in large numbers on a regular basis. And this was going on for weeks. And this became quite an issue because it was so extensive. The FBI got involved, the Air Force got involved, local sheriff's departments got involved. The state of Colorado sent an aircraft to help them investigate this that had special sensors on it. they never could determine where these things were coming from or what they were.
Wow.
They might have been drones operated by someone, or they might have been more exotic. And there's an edge here. So in that case, generally these things were moving at modest rates of speed. And what was surprising was their numbers and location, the fact that they didn't see who was controlling these things. They never found anybody operating them or anyone who was responsible for this. But in addition, there were reports and there are FOIA documents that back this up that show that something that was described as a mothership came in and appeared on occasion, and these drone-like objects went inside of it. I talked to a deputy sheriff out in Nebraska who described one of these incidents, and he saw this larger object craft appear. It was brightly lit. He saw the other smaller objects disappear inside of it, and he said that thing took off like nothing he's ever seen. Extreme speed, flew almost directly over his position. The sheriff saw it as well. So again, there's a lot to sort out here, and it's hard to know where to draw the lines. It's hard to know, in some cases, what is a drone and what is perhaps something more significant and more capable. But we got to get the answers to this stuff. That's the bottom line. We need to find it. We need to find out what's going on here.
Yeah, so that whole mothership thing is pretty wild, in my opinion. I mean, there's been other reports, not just that one, of there's a mothership in the Caribbean, kind of near the Bermuda Triangle somewhere, and that's one of the reasons why ships always disappear, because it gets close to the mothership and then the mothership takes it out. I don't know. It's just
I thought that was
weird
like
things that
a
I've
portal in the Bermuda Triangle. I thought it was like
some people say there's a portal, some people say there's a
vortex, or like
mothership.
the veil is thin.
Right. There's definitely some wild reports out there. And then, yeah, I mean, also the same reports from Matthew Brown, during his whistleblower interview with Jeremy Corbell, where he was talking about basically the United States had an asset looking at a Russian ship that had this huge diamond-like craft just hovering above it, spinning. I mean, that was in the water too. So could that be a part of the mothership theory? I don't know.
Potentially could. What I would like for you to do is to comment on this Boeing reference, since you're Mr. Aviation over here. Can you comment on the Boeing aspect to this paragraph?
All right. So Boeing has long been, Boeing is a defense contractor.
Okay.
They definitely have advanced research projects, and they might be one of the government contractors that actually have their hands on NHI craft, or definitely be trying to or they're definitely one of the corporations that's probably trying to reverse engineer some type of non-human intelligent craft.
All right.
As far as the Go Cardinals, I guess Boeing is also in St. Louis.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that before. I didn't know that they were in St. Louis. So that's news to me.
All right. Okay, so we're good on this one. We're going to move to paragraph 5, right?
Okay.
All right, next one. Paragraph 5 says, anyways, next time you are visiting the Washington, D.C. Young Republicans, ask for a tour of Nass Patuxent River. Since you have all the clearances, it shouldn't be an issue for you to get a tour of the special project hangars owned by Amentum and other fun spaces. Make sure to look up.
So I wonder if he's mocking him there.
You think so?
I think so.
Which aspect of that?
Because
the mocking from?
Well, because somebody asked Elon Musk before about NHI or UFOs or something like that, and he said no, they can exist or they don't exist. I would be somebody who knows, or I would know about it because I have all the clearances.
Oh, that's when he said the whole like, if anybody would know, it would be me thing.
Yeah, that's what he said, right?
Oh, so that's what the reference to the Washington, D.C. Young Republicans mean. Were those the people that asked him that question? I'm assuming so, right? I'm glad you know all this Elon trivia stuff, because if I had to play an Elon trivia game, I would lose really bad.
Definitely all the clearances is in quotes there, because that's what Elon said. He said if there were NHI, he would know about it because he, quote unquote, has all the clearances.
Okay.
which if anybody's been following the
Romance breakup. Let's just call it that.
okay, well, I mean, if anybody has been following with over the last few years,
No.
they've learned how classified, how we have this overclassification issue,
Mhm.
you know, and the different quote unquote clearances that you need and different tickets that you need to be able to get even read into some of these projects.
Hmm.
It's very um, ambitious for somebody to say that they would know because they have all the clearances. You know, they probably don't
Okay.
even know about all the different clearances that you would even need, right? Let alone have it.
Okay. That's like a little kid saying, "But I'm a grown up."
Sure.
All right, let's move on. So if you wanted to know more about Amentum, because I had no idea what Amentum was about, no clue
Okay.
at all, never heard them. Let's check out their promo video.
Okay.
Our world faces intense challenges and immense possibilities. At Amentum, we believe in a secure, vibrant future, but achieving it requires protecting our people, resources, and planet. For over a century, we've tackled pressing issues with historical significance. Yet we remain focused on what's next, advancing initiatives that clean our environment, support our nation and our allies, and explore our universe. We're delivering advanced engineering and technology solutions to address the most significant challenges in science, security, and sustainability. Our mission is clear, and our time is now. Amentum, advancing the future together.
It seems like a pretty cool company. I mean,
Sure.
yeah. You know, when companies put out an advertisement like that,
Hmm.
you know, sure, it seems cool on the, you know, and it seems like it's right,
Like, it doesn't
but
raise like 10,000 red flags for you.
I mean, a little bit, yeah.
I mean, there's so many things like, hold on, let me go look at their thing. What does it say that they are? It says they are a global leader in advanced engineering and innovative technology solutions.
Yep.
So basically, they probably make stuff to defend the country because they were very specific about defending our country, protecting
Mhm.
our future and our
Right.
allies. So I'm like, okay, so basically, like you just make stuff to blow shit up from Earth and space. That's like what I was getting.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they're definitely a defense contractor for sure. They're
Right.
probably one of the companies that has their hands on this UAP material
Mhm.
that are working to reverse engineer it. You know, I mean, if they're the parent company of EG&G, I
Yeah,
mean, yeah,
that says a lot all by
right,
itself right there.
exactly,
Yeah. Oh, I
exactly.
forgot about that part of it. Yeah,
Mhm.
parent. So EG&G that we've spoken about before. This is them now. Okay,
Yeah.
so revamped
Uh-huh.
EG&G. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
See, look, we're connecting dots. We're connecting
yeah.
dots.
And you know, Boeing, Lockheed Martin, EG&G, or Amentum, I guess.
Skunk Works. You can throw them in there. No.
Yeah, yeah, Lockheed Martin, Skunk Works,
Yeah.
Boeing, Phantom Works, Boeing,
Yep. Yep.
right?
Yep.
They're all on the Nevada test site. They're all on
There's that
in
S4
Area
reference again.
51, S4, Tonopah. I mean, all the, you know, those are the major ones that come to mind right now. But, you know, that's the Nevada test site. That's where we tested all the nuclear weapons. That, you know, we tested all the advanced stealth aircraft from, you know, Area 51 or Groom Lake.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, all advanced weapon systems are tested there, as well as Dugway Proving Grounds. That's another test site.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so it doesn't surprise me that that he mentioned them in this tweet.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
especially as being a player in the energy or 0 point energy arena.
Okay.
Right.
All right. So
Yeah.
a tweet from Joe Murgia says, specifically, the Pax River hangar was designed to facilitate the transfer of future materials via air and river. And that was a quote from Lou Elizondo.
Mm.
More on Pax River mentioned in Matthew Brown's interesting post yesterday, as seen in his tweet below. This is from the written Q&A between Eric Burleson and Lou Elizondo. All right, so we're going to read a little transcript back and forth. Do you want to be Burleson or do you want to be Elizondo?
I'll be Burleson.
Okay, you go
Okay.
first then.
All right. Burleson says, can you confirm or deny the attempt to transfer non-human technology to Bigelow Airspace from Lockheed Martin during your time at ATIP?
So Lou replies, yes, I can confirm that specific facilities were identified to enable Bigelow Aerospace to acquire and securely store recovered UAP materials as the new custodian, following their transfer from Lockheed Martin. These facilities included locations in the Las Vegas area and a newly built hangar at the Patuxent River Naval Air Station, PAX. Specifically, the PAX River hangar was designed to facilitate the transfer of future materials via air and river. The hangar was purpose built to meet the requirements of a Special Access Program facility, or SAP-F, all these acronyms, and was capable of accommodating materials at any classification level. Oh, wow. I was informed that funding for the hangar, approximately $10 million, was allocated at the request of then Representative Steny Hoyer. I have visited this facility. However, it was a new construction at the time. No materials had yet been transferred.
Okay, he says no materials had yet been transferred when he visited it.
Right.
So that means he's aware that materials have been transferred to that
Since he's
hangar.
been there.
To which Burleson says, how was it determined that Lockheed Martin had such non-human technology to begin with? If so, how was it confirmed by Lockheed Martin?
Elizondo says, I am unable to answer this question due to a lack of direct knowledge. Okay. Joe Murgia goes on to say, so who does have direct knowledge about what Lockheed has or had? Who saw it with their own eyes besides General Jack Sheehan? Allegedly, of course, assuming it's the same craft. Does it really exist? Do we have any firsthand witnesses to what Lockheed has/had? Will they ever speak publicly? Will I be asking these questions until the day I die?
Probably. All right, so if we go back to what Lou was saying there,
Uh-huh.
he said, at the end of that statement, he said, I have visited this facility. However, as it was a new construction at the time, no materials had yet been transferred. So that means that, in my mind, he is aware of material being transferred to that facility.
Since he visited.
Since he visited, right.
Okay.
He knows that for a fact that they are in possession of some sort of NHI material at that place, at that facility, at that hangar.
I mean, they were literally designed for it, so
exactly.
If you build it, they will come, kind of thing.
Right. So if we go back up, if we go and anyways, next time you're visiting the Washington, D.C. Young Republicans, ask for a tour of NAS Patuxent River, because
there's stuff there to see.
He is aware that there is NHI material there at that hangar.
So he's basically telling Elon, like, yo,
he's telling the world,
if you want to peep this stuff, go to this specific location.
Right. He's basically telling the world who owns that hangar and what is stored there.
Yeah, he's saying you've got all the clearances. You shouldn't have a problem getting a tour of the special hangar that Amentum owns, who's that company we just covered, and other fun spaces. Make sure to look up. So is he talking about, like, keep your eyes to the skies, look up? Or is he talking about, like, when you're getting a tour of the hangar, make sure, because there's maybe stuff that's hovering? Oh.
Okay.
Oh, I did not have that thought previously. That literally just was born in my brain. Whoa, okay. Okay. We have one more paragraph.
Right. And
then some pictures. So good. Do you want to read paragraph?
Yeah, all right. Paragraph 6 says, so about now you are realizing how terribly deceived and manipulated you have been, and by people who claim to love Jesus above all else. If you are serious about saving humanity from itself and the others, in parentheses, Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp can help you get up to speed. They are true warriors for the good. And then he signs it MMTU and ABORYMON.
Okay. All right. To start us off in this breakdown, we have a tweet from UAP Juan that says, not ET, not the visitors, yes, the others. In conclusion, the outer shell of a hierarchy of beings. And I mean, when I think of the others, I think of Tom DeLonge, because Tom DeLonge was one of the people who first spoke about the others, like with a capital O.
Okay. Huh. So who are the others? Right? That's what I'm asking. Is it NHI? Is it?
I don't know.
Right. Is it, I mean, NHI is the blanket umbrella term that we use for extraterrestrials. I mean, we don't even know which ones they're talking about.
I mean, are the others the ones that we have these agreements with?
Right.
I have every time I seek an answer, I just come out with 10 more questions.
Right. And I mean, so save ourselves from ourselves and the others. So that implies that the others are out to destroy us.
Yeah, they're not so friendly.
Right. All right, so moving on, Nick Madrid tweeted out, The decoded glyph structure from the Immaculate Constellation sigil appears to map a modern evolution of the MJ12 framework, updated with predictive AI, signal control, and consciousness layer integration. MMTU equals Predictive Monitoring Unit. So MMTU, which means Predictive Surveillance and or Predictive Monitoring Unit.
And that other acronym, ABORYMON, is apparently the 8th hidden name of the Antichrist.
Mm.
Why is that there? What is going on? Also, like, that's the second time MJ12 has come into this conversation, because it did before with Dan Burrish too. So,
Okay.
okay, so we just finished the word portion of this tweet. Now let's move on to the pictures, because there's some more decoding and analysis to do with those also. All right, so the first picture is of a document, and we can read you what the document says. Well, it's not like a whole document, it's like a piece of a document, and we don't know which one specifically. Like, we don't have an idea.
And he highlighted a specific saying in the picture too. I don't know why that's highlighted.
Right. Okay. So let's just read it. So it says specific examples known to the author include denying the existence of multiple caps owned by a military intelligence agency which directly related to the UAP mission, denying the existence of joint DoD/interdepartment special access programs or SAPs directly related to the UAP mission, and the study of TUO, which stands for Technologies of Unknown Origin. And finally, the denial of the existence of Immaculate Constellation by DoD representatives to appropriate congressional members and their staff. So the highlighted portion is denying the existence of multiple compartmented access programs or CAPs owned by military intelligence agency, which directly related to the UAP mission.
Yeah, and is that supposed to be a check mark or
a check
V?
mark? It looks like a check mark, question mark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't know what the significance of that is, to be honest.
Yeah,
But
me neither.
multiple agencies or the military denying multiple different caps is nothing new.
Okay. Yeah.
In my opinion, I feel like they're always, of course, they're going to deny it. They don't want you to know about their secret program. I mean, they're not going to talk about it. They're not even going to admit anything about it.
Gotcha.
Right. Okay.
All right, let's move on. So picture number 2 is a picture of Trump. Promises made, promises kept. My mama taught me, if you got nothing nice to say, shut your mouth.
Well, I mean, I think what he's referring to here is Trump promising to tell the people about what the New Jersey drones were.
And then didn't.
Right. Could the reason that there were so many drones being seen in New Jersey at the time be because they were being deployed from a quote unquote mothership?
And are these the light crafts that's also being referred to in this cryptic tweet?
Yeah. I think it's coming to light now that that some agencies or some organizations deployed their own drones to muddy the water, so to speak, with what was being seen in New Jersey at the time, so that they could have plausible deniability.
That, you know what? I'm not, that
Yep.
shock is not happening on my face, because
No.
I'm not.
No.
Okay, yeah. All right, picture number 3. To me, this part of the tweet sent me down a rabbit hole I was not prepared for, okay?
Right.
So this is the Sigillum Ameth.
Or Diameth. Sigillum Diameth, I think.
Tomato,
Right.
potato, WTF ever, okay? To learn more about what this symbol is and who uses it and how, let's check out this next clip.
Today I'm going to be doing a video on Enochian magic. This particular video is going into some level of detail on the meaning behind one of the most recognizable symbols of Enochian magic, and that is the Sigillum Ameth. The design on the wax seal, the seal of beeswax, that is used as part of the magical tools in an Enochian ritual to summon angels in order to communicate with them. And it's a very complicated symbol, as you can see. The basis of it is this 7-pointed figure and the multiple layers of that figure with different letters and different names around the perimeter. So what is the meaning of Sigillum Ameth? It means the seal of the truth of God, or the seal of God's truth in Latin. And basically what it is a physical representation of the very highest divine powers that command the cosmos. And it's arranged in this sort of sevenfold pattern. So John Dee was a very much, well, he was a Kabbalist, but also very much a Hermeticist. So he believed that the heaven was divided into seven divisions based on the 7 planets, and he spent much of his life trying to explore this theme in even reconciling the 7 into one, as he tried to do in his seminal work, the Monas Hieroglyphica. And what the Sigillum Dei Ameth really does is it continues on this theme of the sevenfold governance of the universe, of the heavens, attributed to one of the 7 classical planets for each of those divisions. And what John Dee has done is he has created this division, the sevenfold division, and then within each of the 7 divisions there is a series of angels that are at a different point in the hierarchy of angels, from planetary angels to sephirothic angels, all the way up to the god names that give rise to everything else in creation. That's what each of the sides of the diagram represent, is one of the 7 planets, and then the various layers going from inward out in the diagram represent some other part of this hierarchy. So the outermost circle and the outermost sections of the sigil represent the highest order of the heavens, and the innermost represent the closest to the earth.
So Enochian magic has entered the chat, y'all.
Okay, yeah, this is a pretty deep rabbit hole, to be honest. It involves the occult, and
No.
so
I never in my life thought I'd be talking about Aleister Crowley on the UAP News Show. Like,
Yeah.
not on my 2025 bingo card.
So Matthew Brown is in the occult, I
Okay.
presume, or surmise from this. And it's kind of funny because if he is in the occult, or if the occult is a part of the Department of Defense, I mean, that's mind-blowing, right? I mean, there was one other person that came forward recently, Sarah Gam, who is a person that was in the Department of Defense, and she is into the more esoteric studies of what reality is, and she claims that she can channel, and is a psychic and can see into the future, or remote view. So that's interesting that Matthew Brown is now coming forward and is also into these alternative studies. Is that more prevalent in the Department of Defense than what we realize?
I mean, a thought that keeps floating past the forefront of my brain as you're talking, and I don't want to lose it, is that I remember hearing rumors about, like, and this could be a mushed up story in my brain, but I think I remember hearing something about, like, Aleister Crowley going out into the desert and doing some sort of summoning ritual, and that's why, like, some UFO crashed or something, and, like, that now to me is reminding me of, like, Skywatcher and how they use that word summoning, and that's why I had, like, a problem with it, because, like, to me the word summon has, like, negative connotations, and they may be misdirected negative connotations, but I mean, I don't know. There's rumors that, like, Aleister Crowley and the occult and some of their rituals in the desert is why some crafts came down.
Yeah, this is this is mind-blowing stuff, right?
But I mean, this sigil, or this Sigillum Dei Ameth, is to communicate with angels. It's a communication tool for angels.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like, I feel like I'm confused, because when I think Aleister Crowley, I think, like, the epitome of, like, evil stuff, and then this thing is to communicate with angels. So it's like, again, I was not prepared for this rabbit hole. I don't normally look into this kind of stuff.
I feel like with humanity, there's always this light versus dark, or duality.
Really,
right?
light and dark are one and the same coin. So it's like, depends how you wield it, really. I mean,
Yeah. So so
everybody
are
has
they
light
are they
and dark
really
things,
are they
so.
really talking to angels or demons, or is there a difference between an angel and a demon, or is that one and the same?
Are we
Type of
talking in
being?
terms of energy? Like this is
know?
like a whole thing that like I don't even know.
There's so many questions for this,
Yeah.
maybe it's not so, black and white as everybody wants to make it. I
Mm,
mean, there's a lot of gray there, right?
yeah.
And maybe it blends together. Maybe angels are not always good and demons are not always bad, or maybe they're the same type of being.
Why would there be a distinction between an angel and a demon if that were the case? To me, that doesn't make sense.
I don't know. Maybe it's a form of control with heaven and hell.
See, this could
Right?
go, this is
whole
like a
right.
whole this can spiral out into so many
right,
different things.
exactly.
So, all right, I'm gonna tag out and tap in Carl Crusher and show
Okay.
you a video or a highlight clip that I made of one of his videos, where he goes into all of this, and he seems to be much better well versed in this occult Enochian magic stuff. So let's watch.
All right.
But this sigil that Matthew Brown posted is actually an Enochian magic symbol, which was developed by John Dee and Ed Kelly. So this is a very similar system of magic, but it comes from the 16th century from John Dee and Ed Kelly, and this is called Enochian magic. It still has the same function. We're talking about drawing magic sigils and using a secret form of language and divination, and often magic rings or crystal balls or seer stones, and you're evoking or conjuring communication with angels or demons or even aliens. Funny enough, John Dee was the first 007. He was a spy for the Queen of England, and his first designation as a spy for the Queen of England, he was known as Agent 007. So they would take like a crystal ball and they would put it on top of a cylinder made out of wax or stone, and that cylinder would have the sigil carved on top of it with all of these symbols and language. And then they would evoke these magic rituals, and they would basically conjure spirits, they would conjure demons or angels, and then they would form written language or stories or books out of this that would predict the future or form prophecy. This was the origins of the psychic spy program for the Queen of England. So they would take these sigils and this mysterious language, put the wax cylinder in the middle of the table on top of the pentagram, put the crystal ball in the middle, and then basically you turn all the lights off, light the candles. There might be mirrors in the room. It might be even a black mirror on the table. But then you sit there and you look into the crystal ball and you go into an altered state of consciousness. And then what would happen was you would either hear the voices in your head, you would commune or channel or conjure the entities, or you would see the visions of these entities appear within the crystal ball. And then they would sometimes even manifest into the room when they did these rituals, like outside or in the room itself, and put the sigils on the floor. And this is all the beginning of like Aleister Crowley's black magic and that whole thing. So what's wild is, why is Matthew Brown from the Pentagon posting a picture of Enochian magic sigils, and then he's claiming that somehow there's an artificial intelligence that became sentient that they had to murder? So what if this all goes back to Jacques Vallée developing the initial ARPA system? Our first official version of the internet was called ARPA. Later they added the D and it became DARPA. But ARPANET became our first official internet, and Jacques Vallée was working with people from the Satanic Temple and with remote viewers and learning these ancient systems of Enochian magic while they were doing all this. So what if this Enochian magic somehow works and it's the foundation of sentient artificial intelligence, and why all of these Pentagon whistleblowers and officials are now talking about how demons are real and how aliens and demons and angels and God exists, and that all of this is connected? What if at the Pentagon at some level they're actually doing Enochian magic, this stuff that Jack Parsons and Aleister Crowley and Jacques Vallée, all these guys were doing in secret, actually worked? And somehow this is the foundations of NASA and our secret psychic spy program and all of the ufology that we talk about now.
Thanks, Carl. That was a really good breakdown. And,
Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't know. I had never even heard of the word Enochian magic
Me neither.
before he tweeted this out. Like,
Yeah, I know. Same. Um, I mean, I watched Pavel's video, shout out Psychoactivo podcast, and he said that this sigil was featured in the show Supernatural, which I watched a lot of Supernatural. I think there's like 18 or 20 seasons or something like that, and I don't claim to have seen all of the episodes, but apparently it was talked about in that show because that show's all about angels and demons and ghosts and shit like that. So yeah, there's that. One thing I want to bring up, just because I'm me and because I can, is that they were talking about how John D was scrying, basically using crystal balls and mirrors and stuff like that. And I think it's really cool that there's two different museums in England. One of them has his black obsidian mirror that's in a museum.
oh,
And then in another museum, there's one of his crystal balls.
okay.
So when we go to England, bucket list item,
Right.
want to visit those
Okay.
places and see those items.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, it's just wild to me. The whole thing is wild to me. I mean, is the Enochian magic, is that the way that is that what they're using to predict the future, and it's coming true? You know, and I don't know, it's the whole thing is just, it's interesting, it's mind-blowing, it's a little bit scary, it's
unexpected.
unexpected.
Yeah.
You know, I don't even know if I really want to go down that rabbit hole.
No,
You know
I mean,
what I mean?
it's so funny because I was thinking
Right.
a few minutes ago, I'm like, you know, the little girl Catholic version of me would be like running for her dear life right now. Meanwhile, this version of me is like diving into Enochian magic rabbit holes, learning about Aleister Crowley and scrying and all this other
Yeah,
stuff.
I don't
Communication with angels and aliens, and I don't talk to demons. They can go hang out somewhere
Yeah.
else.
Right.
Not welcome in my space. White light ball around me. Thank you so much. So yeah, we got one more picture to get through. You
Okay.
ready?
Right.
Great. And then the last picture that I have for you is this. Okay, so the last picture that he posted in this tweet was an upside down American flag. And for those of you that don't know, an upside down American flag is basically a symbol for distress. It basically means that something is fundamentally wrong and that help is probably needed. They use it a lot in protests. They use it a lot in riots. They use it a lot when the government is doing some that they don't F with. And it's not a good sign. You know what I mean? Like you don't want to see an American flag being flown upside down. It's not a good look. So, whew.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's the whole entire thing is, you know, cryptic. It's thought-provoking. I mean, I feel like he's trying to give Elon Musk ammo, you know, in some sense.
Okay.
You know, maybe he's really trying to push Donald Trump to disclose, you know, or to convince Elon Musk to stop lying about what he already knows. You know, I mean,
Okay. I mean, if what Dan Burrish revealed about Project Looking Glass is true, and the device truly can't see past 2027, then we may be approaching a pivotal moment in human history, a point beyond which even advanced predictive technology like fails to operate, right? And now, decades later, Matthew Brown's cryptic tweet throws fuel on the fire, hinting at AI cover-ups, secret tech propulsions, Mars briefings, and hidden hangars. It's as if all the pieces from Area 51 to the Patuxent River are converging into like a single timeline situation that's being quietly managed from behind the scenes. The question isn't if something big is coming, it's basically just like when. And if Looking Glass couldn't see past 2027, I mean, what does that ultimately mean, right?
right.
Okay, so what do you think happens after 2027? A global reset, mass awakening, or something else? Why do you think Matthew Brown made his tweet public now, and who exactly is he speaking to? Do you think advanced AI has already predicted key events that are being withheld from the public? Let us know in the comment section below.
All right, up next, Wall Street Journal's UFO hit piece. Robert Salas claps back. The Wall Street Journal just published what may be one of the boldest disinformation pieces of the decade, and we're here to break it down. Their latest article, The Pentagon Disinformation That Fueled America's UFO Mythology, claims to pull back the curtain on government lies, but what it actually does is double down on them. They admit the Pentagon spread fake UFO stories in the past to cover stealth tech, but then go on to call decades of nuclear interference, eyewitness whistleblower testimony, And cold, hard data, nothing more than Cold War era confusion and pranks. The biggest problem, they target retired Air Force Captain Robert Salas, a man who was literally on duty when UFOs shut down live nuclear missiles at Malmstrom Air Force Base in 1967. And he's clapping back. Tonight, we're diving into the truth versus narrative battle, breaking down the article, exploring why this story dropped now and what it means for disclosure, trust in the media, and how you should read between the lines when institutions try to rewrite history. Because this isn't just about UFOs, it's about perception management, narrative control, and who gets to decide what the public believes. So let's dive in.
Okay, a tweet from Merrick von Rennenkampf says, per Wall Street Journal, the Air Force had hundreds and hundreds of its personnel sign bogus NDAs for alien reverse engineering programs. Personnel feared being jailed or executed. Bizarre does not even begin to describe this scandal, nor does this explain firsthand witnesses. And then Jeremy Corbell chimes in with this tweet that says, I love how Merrick von Rennenkampf cuts to the chase with the misinformation perpetrated by DoD Aero and the Wall Street Journal, highlighting their nonsensical attempt at UFO disinformation. Talk about painting yourself into a corner. Oh, baby, we're going to hear a lot more about this. I feel like I can hear him say that in my head.
Yeah, me too. And the New Paradigm Institute also made a post about this on YouTube expressing their disdain for the blatant lies. So let's explore some of the key points of that post now. All right, so on June 6, 2025, the Wall Street Journal article claims to expose past Pentagon UFO disinformation, but is actually advancing new disinformation while pretending to clarify history. Okay, so it admits the DoD used UFO stories to hide stealth tech, but dismisses current credible UAP events and misunderstandings or pranks.
So they basically say that anytime a whistleblower from the military came forward talking about reverse engineered stuff or UFO videos or pictures or whatever, that was all a psyop done by the military to haze their people as like a hazing, like as part of like a hazing ritual. Like, haha, we're gonna pull a trick on all these people and show them videos and pictures of fake UFOs and then make them sign fake NDAs so that they think it's really real when it's not really real. And it was all just a big farce. It was all just a big joke.
Which just sounds like a load of horse crap to me. I mean,
wow.
Really?
Wow.
That's the best they could come up with?
It,
as a story to, I mean.
I know. This whole entire Wall Street Journal article is just basically like a slap to the face that anybody's come forward about this in a serious manner. I mean, it really is. Right. The next point is that the article repeats the Pentagon's new claim that the 1967 Maelstrom UFO incident, where 10 nukes were shut off, was caused by an EMP test. But EMPs cause irreversible damage to the missiles, and these missiles return to functionality quickly, which contradicts that explanation. EMP testing at live missile silos during Cold War tensions is not only implausible, but it's unsafe. Why would you try to trick the guy that's in charge of the nukes into thinking that there's something wrong, because then that could mean he could potentially go, oh shit, we're in trouble, push the button, and then next thing you know, like.
And to be honest with you,
EMP testing mob.
Okay, so to be honest with you, in my mind, I don't see how the government could build a missile system that is susceptible to EMP damage in the first place.
Robert Salas talks about that.
And I would imagine that they would put in EMP protections into the guidance systems or the nuclear warheads themselves.
Not only did they do that, they did 3 layers.
Right,
Let's say.
Right. And I mean it's not hard to protect against a EMP, you know. I mean, it's not like it's not like it's an advanced science that nobody knows how to do, you know. We know how to do this. There are governments that do this all the time. I mean, Air Force One and a lot of other extremely important command and control airplanes that our government has EMP protection. That's one of the
standard safety things, kind of.
Well, yeah, but that's one of the main reasons why it takes so long to retrofit one of these airplanes to be EMP protected. You know, is because they literally have to go in and put a copper mesh layer on the outsides of these airplanes. You know, I mean, it's not. We know how to do it. Other governments know how to do it. You know, it's not that hard to protect a missile system from an EMP, in my opinion.
Okay.
So that's my point.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, so another key point to this YouTube post from New Paradigm Institute is that they're basically ignoring other international incidences, because in 1982, a Soviet missile-based incident where a UFO allegedly triggered a brief launch sequence is being left out, because in the Missile Man thing that we just talked about, the nukes were shut off. In the Soviet missile case, they were turned on. And then, that case undermines that UAP stories are only US disinformation. This is not, this is not isolated to the United States. This has happened in other countries. So that's another point of
And
BS that we
if
can
that was
point
an EMP test, why did they do it at multiple different missile silos? That's, to me, that doesn't make sense.
Right.
It seems like it's blatant disinformation.
Yes.
In my opinion.
Mhm.
All right. And then a 2023 SCU study found strong statistical links between UAP sightings and U.S. nuclear infrastructure, materials production, weapons sites, deployment bases from 1945 to 1975. These are not random sightings. They suggest targeted surveillance over decades.
Right. So it's a large period of time where these things are happening, and it's all right. Cool. So number 5 says Arrow's classified historical report. So Congress has already received part 2 of Arrow's historical UAP record, which is still classified. The Wall Street Journal article may be narrative priming, which is basically like conditioning the public and legislative opinion ahead of a sanitized public-facing version of the report. And also something to note, since we just talked about that, is that there's also going to be a part 2 to this Wall Street Journal. So they're not done yet.
Great.
This is only the first half. This is only the first half.
All right. And the next point that we want to bring up is this a modern day mockingbird? And
seems like it.
Yeah. So the Wall Street Journal selective reporting and Pentagon aligned framing echo tactics from Project Mockingbird, the Cold War era CIA program to influence U.S. media. This suggests coordinated perception management, not transparency or disclosure.
Yeah, this is not disclosure at all. This is the opposite of that. And the reason why I really, really love this post is because they call for congressional oversight. Because Danny Sheehan and New Paradigm Institute, they're always trying to get people to do something, right? So this post concludes with a demand for a formal congressional investigation into ongoing DoD disinformation efforts related to UAP. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you, Danny Sheehan, New Paradigm Institute. That YouTube post is actually really, really, really long, which is why we just tried to show you the key points. But like everything else in the show that we talk about, the links for it are in the video description box below if you want to check it out by yourself in its entirety.
All right. And then in this next clip, Robert Salas himself claps back on the Good Trouble Show with Matt Ford, calling out the Wall Street Journal's disinfo hit piece and poking holes through the article with surgical precision.
Is the Wall Street Journal a Pentagon propaganda machine? June 6th, 2025, Wall Street Journal reporters Joel Shechtman and Aruna Viswanathan publish a story on UFOs in the Wall Street Journal. A story for the junk journalism history books, attempting to debunk one of the most famous cases involving UFOs tampering with our nation's strategic nuclear weapons. Today, we are joined by the subject at the center of their story, retired United States Air Force Captain Bob Salas.
They are mistaken about the possibility that our missiles were disabled as a result of EMP testing done by the Air Force.
I'm curious, how long ago did reporter Joel Shechtman, or however you say his last name, how long ago did he reach out to you and interview you about this?
Oh, I'd say a couple or 3 weeks ago.
Okay. And when you brought up any of these points, which are obviously very germane to the story, how did he react?
He didn't. Obviously, his story had been written. When I talked to him last, it was, I believe, last Monday. So this past Monday, before the article went out, and I mentioned some of these points, not all of them, because I hadn't written down all these yet, but I did mention a few of them, and he simply had no reaction other than, the story would be printed. I told him I would be challenging his this assertion that he would be about the EMP testing, and assured him I would be challenging it rigorously, which I will do.
But no, so during the course of the interview, you're bringing up these really important points. There, he didn't ask about them or say, "Hey, you know, could you speak a little bit further about Boeing?" None of that. Not asking, well, what did the above ground security personnel report? He didn't ask you any of that stuff.
That's correct. He did not
Wow.
ask me to elaborate on any of it. It's like, you know, my story is written and that's how she's going to go.
Wow. What you just said is that this thing had been written. It had been predetermined. And the man, the gentleman who is, who I'm looking at on our screen here, who was involved or who was there for that whole incident, he wouldn't follow up and ask pertinent questions. It just absolutely blows me away.
Well, it made me angry. I'll tell you that.
Of course.
I'm going to spend the rest of this afternoon writing up my rebuttal in detail and sending it to the Wall Street Journal, ask them to print it. If they don't print it, I'll try to get my rebuttal printed in another newspaper or but at any rate, I will send them a copy of it and copies to Congress. I will, if asked, of course, appear in front of a congressional hearing and publicly state these points under oath, certainly under oath, to point out that, and I hope they have somebody from the Air Force to either deny or verify that such testing was being done at these sites at the time of the shutdowns, if that's the story they want to try to sell the public. But it is fallacious as far as I'm concerned. It is an outright lie.
It is obviously an outright lie. So for the members of Congress that are watching this show, you just said a minute ago, you would be willing to testify. Any other message that you have, either to Joel Shechtman of the Wall Street Journal, or members of Congress that are watching this right now?
Well, I can tell you that my incident was not the only one, and other witnesses have already come forward about other incidents involving the shutdown of these missiles during UFO sightings.
Well, Mr. Salas, I have to say, when I read this, you were the first person I thought of, obviously, and I know it just absolutely made me blow my top. I think this kind of active disinformation, that is what I believe this to be, is really, in essence, throws our veterans, the men and women that have worn the uniform, under the bus. And this is not how the United States government should be treating our veterans. It's just absolutely beyond the pale. But we really appreciate you coming on the show. And above all, thank you, sir, for your service to this country. And thank you for the bravery in coming forward with a story that really should alarm every member of Congress and every American, because this type of interference with our nuclear-tipped ICBMs continues to this day. Yours was not the last.
That's correct. There have been many others.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Salas, for joining us, and look forward to having you back on again. Hopefully, your rebuttal will be in the Wall Street Journal. That would be the right thing for the Wall Street Journal to do, and I certainly hope they take you up on that. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Matt. And again, happy birthday, sir.
Thanks, sir, very much. I appreciate it. So, Bob Salas provided detailed technical rebuttals that Schmegman completely ignored. The massive EMP equipment that would have been impossible to conceal at a nuclear facility. Strategic Air Command expressed grave concern about the unknown cause of these incidents. This is in the FOIA documentation. This isn't like some magical thinking that Schechtman and his partner in crime just pulled out of their asses. I mean, obviously, his story had been written. And as he said, quote, he did not ask me to elaborate on any of it. What does that tell you? This was about parroting a Pentagon, parroting Pentagon propaganda. That's really what it was. That's all it is.
Okay, I just got to give a quick shout out to Matt Ford for interviewing Robert Salas again. I joined his live stream late, and when I first saw him talking to Robert Salas, I'm like, oh, he must be showing like the rebroadcast of the old one since his name just came up because of this article again. But then I realized, like, no, he had just interviewed him on Saturday, and he was talking to him again because of this whole Wall Street Journal thing. So shout out to Matt Ford for bringing Robert Salas back onto your show to talk about this because it's so relevant right now. And happy birthday! Happy birthday.
Yeah. I think this just shows that the media is not free.
Nope.
And I mean, it's definitely controlled. This is a controlled narrative. I feel like that some gatekeepers in the Department of Defense, are trying to put back under wraps. I mean, I don't see how anybody can read this and take this seriously.
Well, see, that's what's scary though, because like there are skeptics out there that will read that article and go, "Oh, see, told you, I knew it was all a bunch of bullshit," and then they're just like, they use that as like the thing that encourages them and pats them on the back and tells them they're doing a good job being a skeptic. Meanwhile, it's a bunch of bullshit. Like I'm sorry for saying it so blunt, but it is. It's lies. Like
And I
really
mean,
bad ones too. Like not even like
Right,
well-crafted
right.
ones that fall apart easily as soon as you look into them. Hello. I mean,
Exactly.
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, if you're going to be a skeptic, that's fine. Just be skeptical of everything. You know what I mean?
Be open-minded.
Right.
And then just as promised, Robert Salas did write and post a rebuttal as seen here in this tweet that says, please share this link. And then he has like a literal whole rebuttal that he typed up and posted. And I have the link to that in the video description. Again, if you want to read it, please feel free. Check it out. Scope it out for yourself. And then additionally, Lou Elizondo through the Good Trouble Show with Matt Ford provided this statement in response to this whole thing that says, the absurdity of the Wall Street Journal article is not only disingenuous piece, it appears to be well orchestrated by the usual players in DOD. This is shameful. Furthermore, impugning the credibility of military whistleblowers and eyewitnesses over decades to support the narrative of a few who only now admit they were aware of a deception campaign against the American people, Congress, and the president is anti-democratic in my opinion. I am also aware that part 2 of the article, all right, will work hard to try and discredit others, including me, in order to convince you, the people, this topic is not worth looking into. Personally, I think the DOD just opened a whole new kind of worms for itself if it approved these statements being made.
Yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. I think it's totally shameful that the Wall Street Journal even published this.
And speaking of the Wall Street Journal publishing this, I mean, if you want to read the article yourself, it's behind a paywall. So unless you feel like paying the Wall Street Journal a couple bucks, which they don't deserve it, obviously, you can't like read it unless you pay for it. So if you want to hear this article in its entirety, I highly recommend a video called Wall Street Journal Writes a Hit Piece on the US Military. Kirkpatrick claims all UAP are fake over on the Polarity YouTube channel, because he goes through the whole entire thing. He reads the whole entire article from first word to last word and gives pretty good funny commentary about what's going on too. So as always, as usual, link in the video description box below.
Yeah. So, do you think the Wall Street Journal article was a coordinated attempt to control the UAP narrative? Why or why not? Let us know. What does Robert Salas' consistent testimony say about the credibility of these events? Why do you think nuclear sites continue to be a major focus in UFO activity? Make sure to go to the Lato Files Discord server and share your thoughts with the community there. An invite link can be found in the video description box below, along with all of the sources that are featured in the show, so make sure to check that out.
Up next, David Grusch's lawsuit just got real. David Grusch, Air Force veteran, intelligence officer, and one of the boldest UFO whistleblowers of our time, is back in the headlines. And this time, he's not testifying, he's fighting back. Grusch is suing the Loudoun County Sheriff's Office for $2.5 million, claiming they leaked private mental health records to the press in an attempt to discredit him after he dropped major UFO bombshells before Congress. Now, with his trial underway and 2 counts still standing, the stakes couldn't be higher, not just for Grusch, but for truth and transparency in the UFO world. Is this the legal showdown that finally exposes the price whistleblowers pay for speaking out, or another example of the system protecting itself? Let's get into it.
On June 2nd, UAP James tweeted out, David Grusch sues Loudoun County Sheriff's Office for $2.5 million. Trial begins today. The lawsuit alleges an illegal release of records tied to Grusch's past PTSD struggles to The Intercept for a hit piece aimed to discredit him following his UFO whistleblower testimony to Congress. Let's check out that Embedded News Nation clip.
A trial surrounding UFO whistleblower David Grusch. He is taking a Virginia sheriff's office to court, alleging that the department purposely released his medical records and they landed in a hit piece. The trial begins today. News Nation's Ryan Bass joins us live from St. Petersburg, Florida, with the latest here. Ryan, good morning to you. What's at the heart of this lawsuit, and what are we expecting as the trial gets underway?
So, Marky, David Grusch says that the Loudoun County Sheriff's Office illegally released these records, which ended up in a news article just a few weeks after he testified on Capitol Hill about these explosive UFO claims that he actually exclusively told News Nation about back in 2023. Now, he believes the medical info was leaked on purpose, all to smear him and discredit his record. Now, he says these were private medical records from 2014 and 2018 tied to past struggles with PTSD and depression, which was never meant to be out there. And he thinks it was leaked to The Intercept to make him look bad after he testified before Congress about secret UFO recovery programs and claimed that people were hurt in this cover-up. News Nation spoke to a Harvard professor who specializes in UFO research, who says there's a lot more at stake here and not to take our eye off the bigger picture.
The personal information about David Grusch is irrelevant to this matter. It may be an obstacle in terms of him gaining credibility, but that's not really the issue. The fundamental question is whether the U.S. government has in its possession materials, and they're trying to reverse engineer those materials from crash sites of unidentified objects that end up being extraterrestrial in origin or made by some super non-human intelligence.
So there's a lot more, Marky, that could come out of this trial related to UFO and those whistleblower claims. Now, Grusch is suing the sheriff's office for $2.5 million. The sheriff's office responded saying, we didn't do anything wrong here. We just followed the law. Now, the department, again, reiterates that. The trial, it will begin this morning, Marky, about 9 o'clock Eastern time in Virginia. We're expecting key testimony on how those records were shared and whether Virginia law was actually broken here. And, Marky, this could actually open the door to figure out if someone in the intel community actually leaked this info, which led to those medical records being public. Marky?
Wow. Okay, Ryan Bass, thank you. Let me now bring in trial attorney and former U.S. attorney for the Western District of Virginia, John Fishwick. John, as Ryan just laid out for us, I mean, Grusch is suing Loudoun County Sheriff Mike Chapman and an unidentified employee for $2.5 million. Do HIPAA laws protecting his medical records override the Freedom of Information Act?
Well, that's one of the things that his lawyers will be testing in court today. This case will probably be somewhat mundane. It will deal with Freedom of Information Act laws in Virginia, whether the sheriff was required not to release these private medical records when he released the incident report, or whether he should have released those documents. And so it'll be a little bit of a sleepy case dealing with the records and whether they should have been released, as opposed to his blockbuster testimony before Congress dealing with UFOs. So this will be a question of whether the sheriff should have released the documents or not. It'll get down in the weeds of FOIA law in Virginia. And so I don't expect it to be kind of an explosive trial, but it has the potential to do that, I guess, if he testifies and brings up some of those issues.
Yeah, and that congressional testimony happening because of our News Nation exclusive interview with David Grusch 2 years ago. So we've watched it all unfold right here on our network. What kind of, grounds, or on what grounds, I should say, does the defense have to get the case thrown out, you think?
It's always hard to sue the government and sue the government for something they've done in a situation like this. This is a unique case. There's not really a case that's been like this where somebody says they've been harmed by a FOIA release when you've released their medical records. So it's a little bit of uncharted territory. The judge is going to have to confront those issues, Marky, of whether the sheriff's office should not have released them under Virginia law, which says under certain circumstances these records should not have been released. There's also other laws in Virginia that say that they should have released them. So it's a little bit of a jump ball for the judge. He's going to have to call those balls and strikes today on whether the Virginia laws were violated now or not. And that's kind of the cornerstone of this lawsuit.
Yeah, and I know you're saying it's an uphill battle, hard to sue the government, but how big of a deal will it be if the U.S. government is found guilty of leaking his private medical records to the press? And what would that do to public trust in the U.S. government?
Well, if the federal government is behind something like this would certainly be brought up in his whistleblower case. After all, we do want to protect whistleblowers in this country. That's one of the great protections we want to provide them. And so if the federal government, I think, within that case is retaliating against him within that federal whistleblower case, then that will certainly give strength to that case.
And then on the flip side of things, if the government is found not guilty, how might that impact the fight for transparency from people, like Grusch and the UFO intelligence community?
Yeah, so as relates to the FOIA laws, this will have long-term impact, whether these records should have been released or not. Obviously, other folks, if these records were properly released, will give pause if they're bringing a whistleblower case. So it does have impact on other future cases, the privacy of individuals and what the government's role is in releasing medical records. It's certainly a significant case, and the judge's decision, I think the one thing we can expect is whoever loses is going to appeal.
Yeah, a big day ahead, and we'll follow it closely.
So I really hope that he wins the lawsuit. I really do. I thought it was extremely disingenuous that they released his records after he came out as a whistleblower. The whole thing is designed to discredit him, to make people think that, he has this issue, so you can't trust him and you can't believe him. When really it just shows that he's a human being,
Right.
that he's a person just like anybody else. I mean, nobody's perfect. Sometimes we have issues that we need to work through, and he had a very good reason for, drinking.
Mhm.
He lost a best friend.
Right.
And for them to leak his medical records is just extremely unethical, in my
Right.
opinion.
Yeah. Klippenstein definitely did him dirty, and there was that rumor that he got paid. I remember covering that. I remember showing something about some amount of money, but then somebody said that probably wasn't. I don't know. I don't remember the details of it at this point. My head is hurting. But Klippenstein can go take a long walk off a short cliff, as far as I'm concerned.
Yep. Yep.
And he
All
can
right.
take her Patrick Mans with him.
Okay, so we do have an update
Yes.
for the lawsuit.
A tweet from Signals Intelligence says, a significant update on the David Grusch lawsuit. A Loudoun County Circuit Court judge has dismissed 2 of the 5 counts contained in Grusch's complaint. Grusch has also voluntarily withdrawn 1. So we started with 5, 3 are now gone. We got only 2 counts remaining. At issue was Virginia Code 37.2-818, a statute governing involuntary commitment hearings. It reads in part, the court shall keep its copies of recordings made pursuant to this section, relevant medical records, reports, and court documents pertaining to the hearings provided for in this chapter confidential. Grusch argued that this statute applies not only to the court conducting the hearing, but extends to all records of the involuntary commitment hearing, like the incident report held by the sheriff's office. The judge has also ruled that records not part of the court file are not protected under this statute. Additionally, the judge dismissed all claims against Sheriff Chapman and Clark in their official capacities, ruling they are protected by sovereign immunity. The judge also dismissed 2 claims against them personally because those claims involve discretionary decisions. Okay, so only 2 claims remain. That Chapman and Clark acted with gross negligence and or willful negligence, essentially that they acted recklessly or with complete disregard for Grusch's rights. The court has set a hearing for August 6th to consider the sheriff's demurrer, which argues that even assuming all of Grusch's claims are true, they don't meet the standard for gross or willful negligence. Link to the order in a page detailing the parties' objections contained in the post below. Okay, so we started off with 5. 3 of them got knocked out of the park. We're down to 2. The date is set for August 6th. I guess we shall see what happens with the remainders.
Yeah. You know, I don't know. I hope he wins. I really do. I hope that the government doesn't get away with this.
Right.
But I mean, based on everything that I've seen, it kind of seems like it's not looking too great for him, to be honest with
Which
you.
is not great for David Grusch, and it's also especially not great for other future potential UFO whistleblowers that want to come forward, because they could too potentially have their, old skeletons dragged through the mud and paraded in front of everybody in 2025. So I mean, it's not a good look. It's not a good vibe.
No.
It sends a message that it's not safe to be a whistleblower, because if you do come out and whistleblow, then we're going to smear your dirt all over the place for everybody to see.
Yeah, but you know what's the funny thing is, everybody has dirt.
Right.
I mean,
I know.
everybody has some kind of dirt or something that they're not proud of.
But not
in their
everybody
past.
has a whole
Yeah.
article written about their dirt,
Well, true. This is true. But I mean, I don't know. In my opinion, I feel like people get embarrassed about their past way too easily, and
That's a good point.
I feel like if we were just more comfortable with
Talking about our traumas.
or tribulations, it wouldn't be such a negative thing for a lot of people.
That is a great point. And that's a great point to mental health also. So like,
Right.
that's like a double ding ding ding, Mhm.
I mean, sure, everybody has struggles. Everybody goes through stuff,
Mhm.
So I don't know. I feel like we should just be more compassionate
That's a great
with
word.
a lot of people,
Yeah. Good point.
But at the end of the day, will he win the lawsuit? I don't know. That's up to the judge, I guess. And
I mean, they got it down to gross or willful negligence. So I don't know. It seems very wishy-washy to me. It doesn't seem like a very solid thing to try to, to have left to stand on in terms of a lawsuit. But I guess we shall see.
I think media outlets should definitely be held accountable, for weaponizing people's mental history.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that? I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, how do you think this will impact future whistleblowers? I mean, it's definitely not helping. I mean, I don't think it's helping. What outcome would you like to see from Grusch's lawsuit?
I hope he wins.
Sound off in the comment section below and let us know.
And to close out the show with something fun that we wanted to show you, a tweet from Interstellar says, James Fox confirms he saw something anomalous at Contact in the Desert during the Skywatch with Chris Bledsoe.
Ooh.
Let's watch the video.
I'm highly skeptical.
Sure.
But I definitely saw something extremely unusual. And I watched it, and I was like, okay, it looks like 2 satellites next to each other, and I'm looking at speed, and I'm looking at trajectory. So satellites move at a pretty consistent, slow rate of speed, and they don't change trajectory, they don't stop, right? And these 2 objects, I heard somebody talking about them, and I was lying down, and I looked up to my right, and I see these 2 objects, and I was like, well, that's interesting. It's like 2 satellites next to each other. That's interesting. They were pretty close. And I was watching them, and then all of a sudden they did like a loop, and then went that way. And I saw that for sure.
I heard you say something.
I saw that for sure.
Okay. Yes.
And it wasn't an airplane. It wasn't a helicopter. It wasn't a satellite. I don't know what it was, but I'll tell you what it wasn't. It was very, very impressive.
All right, so there you have it. He saw 2 lights. They kind of did a loop-de-loop thing and went off in a different direction. Which obviously
Satellites don't do that.
Satellites
Planes don't do that either.
I mean, planes can do that, but I doubt that it was
normal
right.
planes that are flying to a location do not do loop-de-loops unless something's
Right.
wrong. Okay, so okay, let's just get that out there.
All right.
All right, so that concludes this week's UAP Society's weekly UAP News Show. Thanks so much for hanging out with us, and while you're here, please do us a favor and smash that like button, click subscribe, ring our little notification bell, drop a lovely comment down below, and share this video with your family and friends to help us spread the good word. Let's raise the collective consciousness together in unity.
All right, much love.
Love, peace, and namaste.